I've noticed at the end of WCW Nitro from 1996 until 1999 often involved fans throwing trash or garbage in the ring. At the end of the show, the ring would be littered with popcorn, drink cups, toilet paper, etc. I've been watching the WWE since the early 1980s, and I've never seen this happen on WWE TV. I'm sure there's been some one-off instances in the past, but I've never seen fans fill a WWE ring with trash the way they did in WCW. Any thoughts on why this seemingly only happened in WCW?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you will because you know everything, Brian. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. You do know everything, unfortunately, because then it sometimes makes me look bad when I can't remember. But the throwing things in WCW began with the NWO business and the heel turn of Hogan, right?
That's where it really took off. That first night when he turned heel, Gene Okerlund standing there talking to Hogan, and the fans are just littering the ring with garbage, which produced that famous moment where Gene Okerlund's like, look at the ring, though. Ring is covered in garbage. And Hogan goes, this garbage is just like all these people, which is like.
And that was a spontaneous reaction. And I mean, we used to see it, Brian. Well, you might not be old enough, but you saw some Smoky Mountain shows, but you used to see it in the territory days. After a real hot finish, I mean, the heel would get peppered with shit and drink cups with beer in them and the whole 9 yards. And when the people were really pissed, really hot, like, fuck you, mother, when a good heel got some heat, that was a genuine response. But then did they not somewhat salt the fucking minds from that point on because they liked the visual? I heard stories that they may have encouraged it or planted or at least fostered the idea from some crowds to do that. And then on TV, it became a thing, like when Paul E. had the fucking chair throwing business and put it on his TV open. And then they started going to shows where people just start throwing chairs because they thought that was part of what you were supposed to do. Fuck.
Well, there definitely were a lot of times it wasn't fostered where, you would see the heel coolly walking to the ring and someone would just hit them in the face with a soda. Or something.
Yeah. But I mean, really filling the ring up at the end of a hot deal. And I mean, and to be honest, once again, WCW still had the lineage of actually being the real wrestling. They would soon fix that, but being the real wrestling promotion. So they got more legitimate old style heat than all but a lot of the WWF angles, a few of them. And I remember, but then again, they had that time where it was starting to happen everywhere, at least at house shows, where they threw so much shit in Little Rock. Shawn Michaels pitched a bitch and left without having the main event. People set shit on fire. But they were just, it was a phase they went through, and it was never good when a company like WCW they liked it as a cool visual, but it's dangerous and not a precedent you want to set.
Well, I gotta guess some of it may be the difference in the fan base too. The WCW had a southern fan base for those live shows for Nitros for the most part.
Yeah.
And also I think if you watch the makeup of the crowds, Raw versus Nitro definitely seemed to have the drunker fans at those events.
Well, I agree with that. And here's another thing. Everybody, when you say something like that, and I agree, when you have the Southern fans, everybody goes, those hillbillies, that was redneck. No, it was because in the South, there had still been, until pretty much just a very few years before the stuff we're talking about, there had been a tradition of people taking wrestling seriously, of wrestling being presented seriously, of the promoters went for heat and people got into it. And so overall the work was a little bit probably at a more realistic level, if not necessarily higher athletic level, than anywhere else. So people took it seriously. It wasn't because they were, all drunk or all stupid. It was just because they had already had a history of taking wrestling seriously and it being a more serious product. So they went for heat and that had already, pretty much slipped away in the WWF.